All right. Hi, y'all. God, back. It's Chris, I'm back. Bama Law. All right. We're going to finish this. I swore it wasn't going to take long. I lied. Sorry for the last one. Sorry. I spilled my heart. Sorry. Yeah. That hour and a half should have took 45 minutes, maybe. Somewhere there. I don't know. Anyway, got a little. That won't happen again. Sorry. Sometimes it just yeah. It yeah, sometimes it just comes out and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, no matter how long it is or how long it's been. So anyway, we're gonna finish our video now on Mr. Gerard Shaeffer. Learn about his wonderfulness. Unbelievable. Let me present screen. Make sure I get the right one. Here we go. Pick up right where we left off.
Prison environment causes a lot of stress. But I've done administrative multi-phase personality inventory and all the ones they give you. And the most recent one was in 1990, and I'm mentally, emotionally healthy and psychologically healthy. I have a Psych 1, which is the best you can have.
I think it's 93.
And haven't had any since I've been in. But Sandra can give you a copy of the report by Francis Miller. Chamblee is where I live in Nashville, but I live in Nashville, but we moved to Georgia. You lived in Sexton Woods, which is off of Peachtree, I guess, Big Street. And I went to Sexton Woods Elementary School, and then I went to Our Lady of the Assumption. And
so he's talking about going to school in Atlanta, Peachtree, and Lady of Assumption. He's in, I believe, North Atlanta area.
And I went to Marist for the beginning of my first year of high school, but then we moved to Florida. But I grew up in the Catholic school in Assumption, and played league ball with the Catholic League in Atlanta in 1958, 59, and 60, and would have gone to Marist Military School with all the other guys from Assumption. They either went to Pius X or Marist. That's all you went to. And then we moved down here, and I went to the Catholic school. Did all the normal things, mostly sports. The Catholics are very big on sports. Basketball and football, especially in the Catholic League. I don't know what it's like now in Atlanta, but back then it was you had the private school circuit where all the different private schools had their own league, and we played Westminster and all the different private Catholic schools and private Christian schools. Well, that was my thing. I was a golfer. I played at Chastain Park, and I was at Chastain Park when I wasn't doing anything else. I was at Chastain Park hitting the golf balls and hunting and fishing at Murphy Candler. They made that into a park, but before it was a park, that's when I lived there, and they had the lake, and you could go up there and shoot the 22s and fish for brim and bass in the Murphy Candler Park Lake. And I'd sneak on Peachtree Country Club and fish in their lakes. Stuff kids do. But in Atlanta, it's like when you're going into puberty and you start discovering about sports and you get into this male bonding thing. And we're on the basketball team. I was a starter, and I was on the football team. I was an end, and golf was coming up for high school, and I had to get out there and get ready to be on the golf team. Atlanta had a good golf program. Junior golf was always in the beginning. My father worked for Kimberly-Clark Corporation, paper manufacturer. He was a salesman for them, and everything was fine. Well, Sexton Woods is not like a low-class area,
Freaking have the thing muted. I'm sorry.
One of their best. I'm the oldest brother and I have a brother.
Had to get
Family
food.
3, mom and dad and the dogs.
Get to know the family.
Went to work 9 to 5, working for Kimberly-Clark in downtown Atlanta, and occasionally being on the road, as sales meetings and that, and going to Catholic school and coming home and doing your homework and doing sports, going up to the lake. What's the big lake? No, I didn't have an abused childhood or anything like that. I had a regularly good childhood.
Yeah, no, he didn't have that, even though his psychiatrist said he did. Can't imagine that. That's a little bit odd, isn't it? God, can't admit to having an abused childhood. No. He was totally normal. He wasn't setting fires and shit. No. I'm sure he was a great kid. Jeez. And there's people out there who defend the shit out of him. Well, he just needed the right upbringing, the right love. Yeah, and you can be that. Yes, please volunteer. That way, when he kills, it's you he does. God forbid. Because that's what's going to happen. These guys do it. There's no stopping these people. Not unless you put them in prison. Even as a kid. That's it, man. There's nothing to fix it. That's it. That's it. Look, I ain't never... You know how many clients I've had that were freaking psychopaths and sadists like this? Not even murderers, just freaking psychopaths that got help or wanted help. Let me just start there. Wanted help. You know how many? How many? Anybody? None. They don't have a problem. It's like a drug addict. I ain't got a problem. I ain't got a problem. And you have 5 needles of heroin sticking out your arm. I don't have a problem. No, you got a problem. If I had 6, that would be a problem. That's how they think. They don't have a problem.
I didn't even know what marijuana was until I got in university. My parents were very strict, straight up Catholics. I mean, Catholic school, mass every morning, mass on the weekends. You go to Sunday church. You don't do anything before you go to church. You know, straight up Catholics. They were Catholics before they got married. They got married as Catholics, and they raised as Catholics. And you know, Catholics see everything sort of like black and white. The sin is over here, and the correctness is over here, and there's no gray area in between. That's how Catholics are. And of course, growing up that way and being in the Catholic elementary school and the Catholic high school, I had a very, very black and white view of the world, what's right and what's wrong. And I didn't learn to equivocate until I got to the university for gray areas. But that's how I was raised. I was raised very strictly in the Catholic Church. In fact, when I came down here, I almost went to the St. John Vianney Seminary and became a priest. I was that close to becoming a priest. And I had some problems with the Catholic Church's structure. It's too dogmatic, and they don't invite you to question the dogma. And I'm a questioning, sensitive person. I'm a creative person, and I have a good imagination and a good mind. And I want to be able to go to the priest and say, what's the story on this? You know, virgin birth, right? How do you explain this? What's the story? Give me some books to read about this. And they don't want to hear it. They, whoa, you know. Okay. And that's how come I didn't go. I went to age 12 and 13 and 14, that age right in there, 11 to 14. The first kiss was with at a high school dance in Fort Lauderdale. I remember it very well, out underneath the ficus tree. I can even tell you what she was wearing. It was lovely. She was one of the girls at the campus. But as far as, you know, having sex, you know, there was none of this sexual stuff like that goes on in the schools today. And everybody's, you know, wearing little brief costumes and everything. You didn't see that back in 1961 and 62. I had good experiences. In fact, when Kathy Ryson, the first kiss, I went steady with her all the way through high school. So until I was out of high school, I only dated one girl. Well, the regular petting that anybody does when you're in high school, you know, kissing and petting. But as far as sexual intercourse, no, not in high school. That's telling tales out of school, isn't it? That wouldn't be very nice to put somebody's name like that into it. Like that, it was sexually repressed and could not enjoy a normal, intimate relationship. Okay. But you know, that's how people are, and especially in some girls that are brought up in very strict Catholic schools. I found out that are so repressed sexually that they just have to feel as though that they've been forced into it and can't say. They say no, and you just have to say yes. You know, and you have to be forceful and persistent, and then they say, "Oh, I'm overwhelmed." You know, and that's how they rationalize it away. Well, I'm more of a romantic.
Notice this video is highly edited, but you can hear the other guy trying to interject, and every time he does, this guy, this scumbucket, has to budge in and cut him off. Don't take away my spotlight. Don't take away what I'm talking about. I'm the center of attention. I am right here. There's your narcissism. All psychopaths have it. All of them.
Romantic type, and I like moonlight and flowers and romance, and that sort of this was beyond my experience. I didn't understand it at the time. Later, when I went to the university and I studied abnormal psychology, I began to understand that there are people who are not sexually the way that normal people are. Like I say, normal is how I am. I'm a romantic, but other people aren't. And apparently, she needed that kind of forcefulness of personality to make it okay for her. It wasn't like she went home bruised and bleeding or anything like that. You know, it's a scenario, but a role playing, I guess, is what you call it. And probably what they do with sexual surrogates today. Officially, if you've got some problem, they meet you up with somebody and you role play it out. Apparently, this is a big business out there. I don't know what they do out there now. I've been in 20 years. Oh, Lee, was she thinking of undressing in front of the window? Well, she was another girl. She went to Stranahan, and I went to St. Thomas, and Stranahan is a secular high school, and she was more liberated, you know, and she got off on doing her little striptease in front of her window at night for myself and Pete Maddock and Topper Keith and the boys of the neighborhood, right? And she was entertaining. And I always felt that was kind of
Damn this microphone.
So that's not the way that big Catholic girls.
Damn, I hate this thing. I can't say, I had to keep jumping back between them. Freaking one of these days I'll learn the shortcuts on the damn keyboard. Hell, I was going to say something about it. Notice the way his facial expressions were just now. It's just a little bat in his eyes. Like, no, they all do it. Yeah, all the girls do it. They're all whores. No, ladies, if this is what you see, freaking run. I don't give a shit if it's your cousin, freaking brother. Report them. Run. Run.
Behaved. She wasn't a Catholic girl. She was brought up in a different system, and she was trying to attract male attention. Her name was Lee Hameline. Well, naturally, I get turned on just like everybody else because mostly it was a group thing. All the guys are over, we're playing cards or watching TV or whatever, And Lee would say, "Oh, it's getting about 10 o'clock. Lee'd be up in the window. We go out in the yard and watch." I'm not judgmental. I went over to Lee's house and made a move on her. Yeah, well, obviously she was up there dancing around, looking for some attention. I think I gave her attention. I went up and
Sure.
She invited me right up to the bedroom. I had a good time with Lee. I was in college when I was with her. She was in high school, but I was in college.
See the way he just
I met her at a high school dance, and I was at the dance with a girl by the name of Dee Cunningham.
That one,
and I looked over there and I saw Sandra. She was sitting there.
That probably happened.
She looked awfully familiar, and I went up to her and I said, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" It was a great opening line, right? But I just had to do it. I was compelled. I just knew her from somewhere. It seemed like, and she said, "No, I don't think so." Well, eventually I found out what her name was. I asked somebody what her name was. That it was Sandy Stewart, and I went home. And I looked in the phone book, and I went down the Stewarts, and I went through every S-T-U-A-R-T trying to find it, and every S-T-E-W-A-R-T trying to find it. And finally, I tracked her down. I think I asked one of the guys who went to was Stranahan, But I called her up, and I got a date, man. I'm not bashful. If I like, I might call him up and say, "Let's go out." And that's what I did with her. And we hit it off very well, and we went steady for about a year. A lovely relationship. That's right, around the end of 65, maybe September or so, because she was going off to New College, and I was staying at college where I went here in Florida. New College is on the other side of the state.
Yeah, it's other side of the state of Florida.
No, she was going away to school, and you can't go steady when somebody's in Tampa and you're in Fort Lauderdale. It was very amicable. We had a great time together, and it's time to move on. Complicate things by trying to remain steadies, but there was no animosity or anything like that. I was hurt naturally, because I take a much deeper interest in my relationships. She's flighty and superficial in her relationships, and she moves around, bounces around from one to another, whereas I'm a one-man, one-woman type of person because that's the way that I was raised and trained in the Catholic Church. I always blame it on the Catholic Church, just like Frank Zappa and every other Catholic guy that gets hooked into this one-man relationship. He said, "Yeah, I've got to blame it on the nuns and the priests because that's what they taught us." And I was just not taught to be promiscuous. If you had a relationship that was emotional and sexual with somebody, it was a commitment, and you made a commitment to them, and you were their friend and their lover, and promiscuous. If you had a relationship that was emotional and sexual with somebody, it was a commitment, and you made a commitment to them, and you were their friend and their lover, and you didn't stray. Here's what happened. They accused me of killing 34 people in the newspaper. All right. Imagine yourself waking up some morning and seeing your picture on the front page with being accused of 34 murders.
How many damn times does that happen in your life? Oh, shit, honey, I woke up today and I can't believe it. They accused me of 34 damn women I killed. I can't believe that shit. Really?
Murders. It is absolutely devastating. And you're thinking to yourself, is it possible that I could have done this and that I don't know? Because
no, you moron.
I don't have any recollection of killing 34 people. That's what you're going to say if you didn't do it, right? And people are saying, "Yes, you did. Tell me. We can prove it." Rah, 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 rah. You say, "Well, I must be crazy because I don't even remember any of that." So that's why Baker acted, that put me up the Chattahoochee to find out if that there was something wrong with my brain, like a lesion or something that caused me to kill people and have a blackout and not remember it, right? This was the whole purpose of going up there.
All right. Baker Act. Okay. I do have some brief experience with that. Okay. Let's look that up real quick. Let me just get Baker Act here. Let's see what ChatGPT can give me. Ow. I'm hoping it can give it to me faster than Google can because it sucks. ChatGPT is pretty good now. It's not bad. Okay. Key points of the act. It's a Florida Mental Health Act. The purpose is to ensure the safety of individuals experiencing mental health crises while respecting their rights. It provides a framework for temporary detention of individuals for psychiatric eval. A lot of states have this, but none of them work. They're a freaking joke. None of them are long enough. Florida seems to be a little bit longer than most states, but I think it's still just a few days. The criteria. Oh, excuse me. Criteria for involuntary examination. An individual. Let me share this tab. Individual can be Baker acted if they meet all of the three following criteria. Oh no, the person has a mental illness as defined in the Baker Act. Got to be at least evaluated. Can't just come in and be like, that dude is talking to his anus. There is a problem. What do you mean talking to his anus? He has got his head between his butt cheeks and he's talking to himself. That's not enough. So usually they'll get some kind of a diagnosis on there, and then they'll Baker Act. Georgia has something called a oh, it's been so long ago. I can't remember the title. It's 1013. They call it a 1013. It's title something. I just can't remember. It's like I don't think it's 18. It's like title something 1013. That's the sub chapter and section. It's similar. That one you have to go before. I think a nurse or a doctor can do it. Hold you for up to 48 hours. You have to be presented. Well, you have to be released or presented to a probate judge. Because I grew up in Georgia and I was in law enforcement there, so I know about it. I'm not giving legal advice. Freaking A. It's another thing I always forget. None of this is legal advice. Freaking none of it. Okay, this is just entertainment. That's it. So anyway, the 1013 provided a 48-hour hold, and it could be longer if it never was. The psychiatrist or whatever got the probate judge to agree. Okay, that's it. That's what this is. A lot of states have it, but nobody ever gets held longer than a short period. They just don't. And a lot of people with schizophrenia and severe bipolar don't take meds, so they need to stay, and they can't. They can't. All right. The person is refusing voluntary examination or cannot determine that examination is necessary. That's number 2. The individual is a danger to themselves or others. You got to have these. This is what sucks. It has to be all 3. Notice I just said all 3. Okay, we have a guy. He's crazy. We know he's got an issue. Even if you're you're an attorney, you're like, oh man, I got to get this guy help. Okay, yeah, we'll try to Baker Act him. Okay, great. Or whatever state you're in. They got to have a mental illness. What if you don't know? You don't know? Oh well, you're not getting it. You're done. Unless they get evaluated. Maybe they'll get a diagnosis. Maybe they'll get a preliminary. It's possible. Maybe not. Maybe. Person has a mental illness. Number 2, the person is refusing voluntary examination and cannot determine that it's necessary. That's usually easy too. They don't want to go. And if they're really crazy, they don't know they need to go. Number 3, the individual is a danger to themselves or others due to their mental illness or is unable to care for themselves to the extent as they pose a significant risk. That's the one you're never going to get. That's it. That's it. Stop. You're done. I mean, guy could be talking literally to his anus. Head, cheeks, head, inside cheeks. Yeah, talking to the cheeks. Hello. That's it. They'll ask me, like, do you want to hurt yourself or anyone else? No. No, I'm just talking with my butthole. That's it. You're done. They get to go home. They get to go home. They're talking to their anus and they get to go home because they have said, I'm not wanting to hurt myself or someone else. Therefore, I'm not a danger. That's why nobody ever gets admitted. That's it. Call your representative or senator. Nobody gives a shit. That's the problem. We only care when people do horrible things to schools or churches or whatever horrific event occurs or act of terrorism. Nobody cares about stopping it. Sucks, man. Initiation of the Baker Act. A judge can issue an ex parte order on a sworn testimony. That's usually by a doctor or a nurse, or well, I guess it could be the lawyer. An ex parte order. Ex parte means to be one-sided. Okay, it's just one one party. A lot of things are done, especially with violence against women, or um, like uh, restraining orders, etc. My boyfriend beat the hell out of me, and I'm scared he's going to kill me. I need a restraining order, and that you go down and do it. That's ex parte. He's not there for a hearing. They do it. He better not come around. They set it for, I don't know, 15 days later for a hearing. That's his hearing. He's got to have due process. So, but it's still ex parte. There's only a few times in the law where you can do ex parte stuff. Okay. In the Young Thug trial crap, that was the whole problem with Glanville. His dumb ass is sitting there having ex parte conversations with not only the freaking witness, freaking other side. And it's insane, with no defense party present. He should be disbarred. But he's a judge. He's a judge, and the community loves him. So it's okay. If I do it, I get disbarred. It's a scam. Being a lawyer, the practice of law, it's a scam. It's just a scam. A law enforcement officer can initiate if they observe the individual meeting the criteria. They can initiate. They can't really do it. It's just a start. All right. Mental health professionals such as physician or clinical pathologist or psychologist can initiate it as well. Duration. All right. Once it's done, 72 hours in Florida. Okay. So we got 70. Georgia was 48. I'm pretty sure it was. At least it was 20 years ago. It, almost every state's the same. It's just, God. I laugh a lot, part of it's Tourette's, and the other half is because I'm laughing because this is just ridiculous, because I know how hard it is to get this done. In Alabama, I've never had anybody for one, there isn't anywhere. They've closed them all. Thank you, President Kennedy, and then Reagan. We can just give them pills and send them home. No, we can't. It's stupid. But that's what we've done. Outcomes after evaluation, blah, blah, protection of rights. They retain rights for counsel, communicate with the family, blah, blah, blah. Exclusions. Baker Act now applied to individuals primarily under the influence of substances unless they meet the criteria for mental illness. Voluntary examination, so they can't get that. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's Baker Act, okay? All right, good. We're good there. So now everybody's up to speed. All right. Let's finish this douchebag so we can all go to bed.
Well, I walked in the door, and I went to see the intake doctor, whoever it was, and he says, "Oh, you're the guy who killed the 34 women. How do you feel about that?" Wow.
Sucks.
This isn't
wow.
This isn't a situation where I'm going up to find out. This is a situation where it's going to be an interrogation, and they're going to
yes, asshole.
Whatever I say is this is not going to be for medical purposes at all. This is like talking to the state attorney's office. Wow. The worst thing you could have possibly done was say that, because then I said to myself, well, they want stories. I'll give them stories.
Hell, there's the damn.
Oh, gave them lots of stories. Nothing had to do with any murders. Told them everything I could think of, and went and talked to the bugs on the wing and tried to find some more stories to tell them. I told them all kinds of stories, but nothing that had to do, that implicated me in any crimes.
There we go.
I certainly not implicated myself in any murders. So I had the presence of mind to understand what they were up to. And then the same day, they threw me in solitary confinement. Unbelievable filth on the floor. And I was held 2 weeks in the most incredible dungeon that you had ever imagined, with lunatics, drooling fucking lunatics. Well, I realized later that this was in order to break me down, to destroy me, mentally.
See, this
bring me
is
to
the
my
problem I
knees,
have with the
and to make me
freaking anti-death
malleable that I
penalty.
would say and do whatever they wanted me to do.
This is the bullshit I have with the anti-death penalty people. This is what you want them to get done. Oh, they should be executed. We don't have that right. We just put them in prison for life. What are you going to do? You going to put them in general pop? No. Because then you're going to bitch and moan about that and say, oh, no, we can't do that. They'll get killed. Yeah, they're probably going to get killed in general pop. Yeah, because they're assholes and prisoners don't want them there. That's what prisoners do. They have rules. These guys don't fit it. They get removed from the gene pool. That's how it happens. So they get to sit in isolation, I don't know, 30, maybe 50 years till they die. What's worse? That or the death sentence? I think it's worse to put someone on a death sentence and then stick them in there for 30 years, not knowing when they're going to go. So, yeah, maybe we should put them in general pop or give them a 10-year limit. Hey, you better have everything done in 10 years or that's it. But you little freaking do-gooders that want to get rid of the death penalty, you're the ones that are going to, I guarantee you, everybody gets freaking commuted. You're going to bitch about where they're commuted their sentence to. Oh, you can't keep them in ISO? That's inhuman. Okay, we'll put them in general. You can't put them in general population. They'll get killed. Where the hell do you want to put them? How about we send them home to you? I would love for every woman, activist, fruitcake, anti-death penalty, anti-rape, whatever bullshit acronym, come up with it, person you can, we'll send them home to you and your kid. We'll just put them on house arrest. That's a great idea. I guarantee you it would stop like that. Nobody wants to deal with it.
Having been through the system one time, you realize the tricks of their trade that they use to break people. And that's what they were doing to me. They weren't interested in whether I had blackouts. They wanted me to make an inculpatory statement. And I didn't have anything to say. I didn't kill anybody. Especially, and I said, well, who are these 34 people? I said, well, we don't have to give you the names. I said, well, yeah, I think if you're going to accuse me of killing 34 people, I'd like to have some names and some dates and some MOs and things like that. It took me until 1981 to get the names of the people who they thought that I killed. And when I got those names, he finally reduced it. Robert Stone and Lem Brumley. Lem Brumley, who was later arrested as a racketeer for the narcotics, okay, and pled guilty. Stone eventually was confronted by a reporter by the name of Laura was mostly dead. So she went to Stone and he reduced it from 34 to 9, okay, and gave her the names. And I went and took those names and those jurisdictions and I wrote to the police departments or the sheriff's departments in those jurisdictions and I said, I understand I am the suspect in this crime and I want to take polygraph. I want to be interviewed. I want the whole 9 yards. I want an attorney, blah, blah, blah. And I went through all 9 of them and ended up getting letters from every one saying that I have cooperated and that they have given me whatever test they wanted to give me and that I am no longer a suspect. And Sanders got that stuff. I've asked her to give it to people like yourself, where I've got copies of the letters from each state attorney's office clearing me as a suspect because of my cooperation. And the latest one that we did was the FBI. Mr. Hazelwood wrote a letter and said, you are not on our list of being a serial killer. This is Robert Stone and his little cabal down there saying, yeah, that man's a serial killer. Say, yeah, but you've never linked me to a crime scene, Mr. Stone. When am I going to be linked to a crime scene? You can call me whatever you want to call me, but let's see some evidence. Sandra called him on the phone and said, you've accused a man of having sex with corpses. Do you have some something to back that up? I was furious, man. Could you imagine a Catholic boy raised in a Catholic school and being accused of having sex with a dead body on the front page of a newspaper?
Yeah, maybe so.
Outrageous. Makes me mad just talking about it.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure that's the way you looked at the women you killed. And she called him on the phone and says, well, you've accused the man of necrophilia here in this news article. What is your proof? What do you base this on? Just, well, he wrote stories. He's written it all up in fiction. He must be doing it. I said, duh. That's supposed to be the evidence. My book is supposed to be the evidence. Here's the hard part with this. Even this asshole has a right to counsel. He has a right under the Constitution. He has rights under the Constitution. If we don't provide it to him, this is where the lawyer in me kicks in. If we don't provide it to him and someone doesn't give him a robust defense, okay, and make the state stay honest, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. It's not hard for, man, the next time, man, we don't have to try so hard. Man, we don't need as much evidence. Don't worry about that kind of, don't worry about their statement. No, that's fine. They didn't say, I know they didn't say that, but they must have meant it. So just write it as they meant it, what they meant. Man, they didn't, don't worry about that. We'll get it set up. And you start having the lines blur, and then the state goes off the rails. There's a way to do this and to do it right and to protect their rights. And by doing so, you still protect the rights of the rest of the citizenry of this country. That's the job of a lawyer. If unfortunately the police do a shitty job, man, I sure hope they don't, because he's going to walk. But then that's when you start voting out the jerk offs in your sheriff's office or your prosecutor's office or the governor. You clear house. And then you take tiki torches to this dude. I don't know. But that's how you do it. That's the job. That's the job of a lawyer, and it sucks. I've had to do it so many times with people that are sex offenders. I had to still be a zealous advocate. I didn't lie. I wasn't going to go and be a political advocate for them. I don't do that. But I will poke a hole in someone's case in a heartbeat if they've done something wrong. As much as I think somebody might need to go to prison because he's a pedo, do your goddamn job. If the state does their job, I don't have one to do. I have very little. It's called get a plea. That should be the job. And instead, the state, they make a lot of mistakes. It's just it. And then you have people that, unfortunately, go on these political crusades or whatever to save the world. And people like this get swept up and freed.
You see, this is Sandra again. Here's what Sandra is interested in: making money. Okay, that's her primary motive in life, is generating money for her. When she wrote to me,
her name's at the bottom.
How are you doing? Gee, it's been a long time. Would you like to get back together again? Do you still write those stories? Because I was writing back in 1965. In fact, my instructor in 1965 was Harry. Here I'm telling you the pitch. So when I find out that Sandra wants to make money, I say, yeah, I write it. And boy, do I ever, and Killer Fiction shows it on the writer. All right. And then she says, well, what if, the same question you're giving me, what if you never get out? I said, well, we'll just write up a story like Donald Evans. We'll just say, yeah, everything they said is true. I killed 34. We'll write it up as first person account. I said, boy, you can make a lot of money selling that, and it won't make any difference because I'll be able to get it out anyway, see? And that's where that's coming from. All that is a business decision, more or less. There's no evidence I killed anybody. And then she started coming on with this thing from Zebra. They framed me for murder. Mr. Schwartz to get my wife, and he did this with the assistance of Mr. Stone. And Bruce Colton, who is the state attorney, he is well aware of it. Oh, I was guilty of that. What can I say? I went in. There was no trying to wiggle out of that. I didn't. Just a little bit too many Dirty Harry movies for me. You get to see this stuff on TV, and they do all this weird stuff, and then you do it in real life. It isn't like that at all. Of course, there was a trunk. There was 2 trunks. It was filled up with my literary work, like hundreds and 10 years worth. I was not there. Okay, I was not there. I have been told that they have found stuff like this. All right. I have asked Sandra. I said, you go and you see it. Eyeball it. I said, because every time that I have asked to see it, nobody knows anything about it. All right. If you're saying that you found this or that in my house, I have a right to see it. Don't I have a right to see it? Produce it. I deny that it exists. I'm not denying they say that they found this stuff. And I'm sure that they found jewelry in my house because they went and they searched my sister's bedroom. And they took the jewelry out of my sister's bedroom, not out of my bedroom and not out of my trunk, out of my sister's jewelry box, out of my sister's drawers. My brother's girlfriend, Sandra Moses, they took her clothes and they said, we found the clothes of women. It belonged to Sandy Moses. It was stuff that Sandy said, oh, that's mine. But your sister? No, Sandy Moses was my brother's girlfriend. Okay. They got a list, a search warrant. They've got certain things on the search warrant they're looking for. They didn't find anything that was on the warrant that they were looking for. They took thousands of items out of the home. They just went in, we'll take this, we'll take clothes, we'll take jewelry. Look at this. This is stories. We'll take these stories, we'll take these guns. Wow, this is no way to do a search warrant. This is a what they call home invasion under color of state law, There's laws against this kind of thing. You want to be a cop? You want to go in and look for something that belongs to Susan Place? Fine. Go and look. If you find something that belongs to Susan Place, take it. But don't take everything that's ever belonged to my family and say, and not only my family, but all the guys that spent the night with me, as young kids, and all the girls that spent the night with my sister and had their parties, and all the people who have been in that house for 10, 15, 20 years and left junk laying around and say, oh yeah, well, this belongs to this one. He's got, it just makes me so mad because when they say that they found all this stuff in my home, they didn't find it in my home. They found it at my mother's home. Okay. And I've never seen it. All right. Saying they keep adding stuff, and I keep taking to Sandra. I said, look, they say they've got this and they've got that. Go down to Broward County Sheriff's Department because that's who did the search. And I said, ask to see it. I know lots of serial killers in here, and I don't know of any of them that are denying it. The latest one, Donald Evans, you can't shut him up. Evans got bodies all over, taking people on tours. Ted Bundy was the same way. The closer he got to the chair, and he wasn't denying it, except officially he was denying it. But when he was talking to people like myself and to psychologists and to writers, he wasn't denying it. He was just saying, hey, I got a thing in court. I can't go ahead and admit this because of my court thing. Jerry Stano was the same way. He took them when he killed 40 women. He took them and showed them the bodies. Bernard Giles, he's another one. He's having sex with the corpses, like Ted Bundy was having sex with the corpses. Caught him with a fucking rotten body right there. He didn't deny anything. He pled guilty. These guys, Otis Toole, I talked to him this morning. Otis doesn't deny anything. Otis says, yeah. He says, Henry Lucas is lying. Henry Lucas and I went out and we killed over 100 people together, and he's trying to say that it never happened. Otis doesn't deny anything. Otis says, yeah. He says, Henry Lucas is lying. Henry Lucas and I went out and we killed over 100 people together, and he's trying to say that it never happened. It happened. I admit it happened. Be in prison from 27 years old until you're 75 years old and then go on the street, forget it. No, I don't want to deal with the stress. That's my personal, I would not take it. I make a life for myself in here. I do make a life for myself in here. I do the best I can with what I've got. And you're not going to put me back on the street in 2016 because I ain't going. And that's the reality of that. It's a big deal. What am I going to do? How am I going to make a living? Live under a bridge with the rest of the homeless people? I read the paper. No, not for me. I got a nice little cell. I got a bed. I got coffee. I don't have very many needs. As long as I've got books and I have access to a library, I will be intellectually stimulated. And I don't want to leave. Not at 2016. Now you come in tomorrow and say, hey, I still have a chance at 45 years old to make something out of my life. And I have told those cops and the state attorneys and everybody else, I said, connect me to any crime, any murder, anywhere, and convince me that I'm involved in it, and I'll plead guilty. Just like I pled guilty when I was guilty, I pled guilty. I said, but don't make this shit up and come in here and say, yeah, you're a serial killer. Yeah,
This is exactly what you get when you're an attorney interviewing these people. This is how they act. This is what they tell you. This is what you get as the lawyer.
Suspect this, and yeah, we've got that. And I say, oh, you got that? Show me. And they don't have it. The diary, the great death diary that they said they had. I've sent all kinds of people looking for the diary. It does not exist. It's a figment of Robert Stone's imagination. Okay? So, and I'll make that statement right to your camera. Any of you cops out there think that I am involved in any crime in your jurisdiction, come to me. I will take a polygraph. I will take a test. You can take my fingerprints, whatever you want to do. I'll cooperate. But have something. Don't say you're a serial killer. Anybody can say that. Back it up. And they haven't done that, not even with the ones that they convicted me of. They got false evidence. They've got all kinds of evidence they collected at that crime scene that shows somebody else did it. I'm not super intelligent. I'm just a regular. If you look on my, where those tests they give you that shows your intelligence squad, IQ test, right? I just have a regular IQ test. I'm not one of these super Mensa types like Bundy was and several of these guys there. Like the Mensa killer, you've heard of him. I'm just a regular guy. They can't prove it because I didn't do it, is why. They've got evidence. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It's like the great purse, my bullet pouch, okay? Full of bullets. Henry Dean, Elton Schwartz's current brother-in-law, goes to my home, steals it, takes it to the police department. His buddy, David Yurchuk, his former partner, and says, listen, Yurchuk, this is probably evidence in one of your cases, okay? Now I have a receipt where I wrote the letter from Morocco about the purchase, which I didn't have back in 72. So they say, oh, this girl carried her marijuana in this purse. I said, now how? Test it. Open it up, because if you put marijuana in a leather pouch, you're going to have residue, right? You can't put marijuana in a leather pouch and not have residue. They tested it, no residue. No residue. It wasn't hers, it was mine. They stole that out of my house. It's wrong. There's 25,000 murders in this country last year, something like that. It's epidemic, it's out of control. That's scary. And it's in here too. You get murdered in here too. There's been murders this year, right in this building. And just because you're in prison doesn't mean that you're immune from this. This is taking things out of context, all right? This story, this is part of actual fantasies, all right? Now, what this was, when I was in high school, there was a man by the name of Herschel Gordon Lewis who made films, and he made a film called Blood Feast. And I was very taken with Blood Feast. And I thought, it's so campy. It's so immature. Imagine what we could do here if we had a real scary person, not Fuad Ramses, who is, going to run around and pretend.
Imagine me.
It was written during the 60s when I was putting together this character. And when the police went into my home, I had put all this aside when I got married, and I just had it in storage. But this was what came out of Blood Feast, out of my watching it and studying it. And I said, this guy, Lewis, is making $1 million with this character. I can write this well. And I said, I started putting it together. This took years. And this just wasn't, I just did it in one day. This was a product of years. Now, there were all parts. There was a pile of paper that high that had to do with this area right here, that I did exhaustive studies, like on Ed Gein. Actual fantasies, and this is the first part of the murder plan, okay? And I haven't even seen this, actually. I've never seen this. Joe Bob Briggs also thinks this is really interesting, too,
This guy can't shut up.
The nationally syndicated columnist that does horror film. No, drive-in, Joe Bob Briggs at the drive-in. You never seen that? Well, you're obviously not into horror. But what I'm telling you is that when you go and take a man's rough drafts, this is when you do a work, and this was to be a work, the ghoul, the person, all right, is a commodity. He is a scary character. And when you read this, you get scared by the time you get to the end. You say, wow, is this a real guy? What? This guy could be around, like that. Because this is what's really scary. King Kong isn't scary. Fuad Ramses isn't scary. This is scary, okay? Now, they went and they took these rough drafts, and They stole it, okay? What they got is they took, oh, this looks good. This looks like it might be inculpatory to make him look like a serial killer. So we'll keep this one over here and we'll throw this
Anger
part
just
away.
keeps
So by the time
welling up.
the police got done with it, you got a piece over here, murder plan, which is nothing more than a little scenario. This is just a sketch to build something on. And I'm going to read this, and by the time I get it read and you get it cut, it'll be turned into a confession type of thing, is what it gets turned into, reading his work in a setting where people understand that this is a reading, like a poetry reading or something. That's one thing, but so many people have said, we think you're a killer because of that graphic stuff that you write. People have said this to me.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they did find a, in his defense, they did find a bunch of fiction type murder novels that he wrote. Thankfully, never been published, but yeah, I'm not so sure they were fiction. But
how can you write this kind of stuff and not be a killer? So, well, you do it by research.
This is the kind of shit that happens to you as a lawyer, though. You're like, oh man, this is great. We got a defense. We're gonna be totally care. We're gonna go in and win. And then they say, you know, this is weird, Mr. Jefferson. Do you know your client? Do you know that he writes murder novels? That's when you go, I'm sorry. He does what? Yeah. Yeah, he's got murder novels he writes. Yeah, they're fiction. Oddly enough, it just happens to be the exact same story of what he's already done, and real close parallels and all. I just thought we'd let you know. And then you go to the client, you're like, you freaking retard. When were you going to tell me you freaking wrote murder novels and you're on trial for a freaking murder? Anyone? Anytime? Were you going to tell me? No, they don't tell you. Well, I just didn't think it. Oh, man, I'm sorry, man. If I had of it, I was afraid you'd get mad and you wouldn't believe me. And I don't have to believe you. I don't believe you now. My job isn't to believe you. Don't anybody believe. Look, if you think your lawyer believes you when you tell him something, chances are, and if he says he does, you're either retarded or he's retarded. I don't know which. It doesn't matter if the lawyer believes you. Period. Doesn't matter. It's not the job. But when a dumbass does this and comes in and says, it's like it's like going and burglarizing places and then videotaping your dumbass doing it and not freaking deleting the tapes. Well, you shouldn't have done it anyway, but you get my point. Then they say, well, I had them, because it was funny to watch, I didn't know they were going to have them. I didn't think they'd find them, man. Well, they've got you now on tape, so there went your plea. You're going to take the plea that they give you. What, you can't give me a better one than that? No, dumbass, you're on tape. So this idiot wrote it. This is the kind of stuff you get all the time as a lawyer. Nobody ever talks about this stuff, but this is what happens.
You do it by concentration. You do it by creativity. I said you do it the same way that everybody else who writes graphic murder stuff does it. You work at it. This isn't just something that happens. This is something that you pay money to go to the university to learn how to do it correctly. I mean, I graduated
takes
from
time to kill
Florida
people.
Atlantic University, and I took creative writing, and I specialized in short stories. I did not specialize in doing novels or journalism. I specialized in short stories, and these are short stories. I've had so many bad experiences with media and police and everybody, tricking me and saying, do this and do that. So many bad experiences with media and police and everybody, tricking me and saying, do this and do that. And you say it, and it comes back in a negative way. And I hope that by writing killer fiction, that it is entertaining. Obviously, it's entertaining. A lot of people buy it. But I dislike it when people say, you created this work, therefore you're a killer. Or this proves that what the state is alleging, that you're a serial killer because you are capable of writing that. And that upsets me a great deal when people say that. The state of Florida has submitted this part right here as proof to the federal judge that I committed those murders. It's in their answer to my habeas corpus. They have put this piece in there and said, look, judge, this proves he killed him. It has nothing to do with that crime whatsoever. But you see, that is their pitch, because they have nothing else. They have no proof that I did anything. They have this. Okay. Now, you want me to read it? I'll read it. Okay. And I'll just have to trust you to do the right thing. It's something that needs to be said. This is an ongoing thing, and I don't think that there's ever been a case like this in the entire judicial history of this country. This is an entirely unique case with the lawyer and the wife and the book, and there's no evidence
narcissist
that I am being convicted on the merit of my writing, and this is wrong. If you've got something, if they've got anything right now, bring it and I'll plead guilty. But don't say, because I went to school and I learned how to do this, and do it excellently, not half-assed, not Herschel Gordon Lewis, thru Ramsey. This is the real thing, man. This is really scary. This is as good as anything Stephen King can put together. And I'm not doing it with vampires. I'm doing it with real live people that are walking around, and you want to look. Oh boy, is they coming or not? You know? Let me see. That's Sandra. Not sending me. She should be sending me copies of this stuff if she's putting this together. All right, this deals with into the mind of the ghoul. Now, the ghoul is the character that I created that was based on thru Ramsey's, written by Herschel Gordon Lewis. And essentially, this character is a human monster, but he's a very believable human monster, and he functions very well in society. But when the moon is right, the creature, the beast, comes out. And this was an attempt, Into the Mind of the Ghoul was an attempt by me as an artist, after reading about such people, real people, was an attempt by me to put together a mental picture of what this character would be like. If that's understandable. I wanted to have a mental profile of my character. And that's why by the time you get to Powerline Road, you can see where this part is way down here on the left. Powerline Road is like a culmination of how that mental process is. He's deteriorated into such a state as he is capable of doing the atrocities that are brought out in Powerline Road. Now, let's see, this part deals with picking up a woman in a bar, I think. Okay, the woman is by this time very frightened. This is good, because the more frightened she is, the greater the thrill for me. I tell her to strip, but I let her leave her underwear on. I tie her to a branch and gag her if she is too noisy while I go about the business at hand. And then I'm skipping to another part, so there's a break here. I arrange the rope and the noose, and I dress the woman in a white shroud, place the pillowcase over her head, and then, if I feel like it, sit down and entertain her with a bit of my conversation. Terrorize her. Give her my ideas on what she will look like while she's hanging there, fighting the rope that is slowly choking the life out of her. Make it as real as possible for her, so that she is petrified with fear. Make her know that she is going to die. The noose is arranged so that she will strangle slowly, and she sits on a board between two limbs with a long rope leading off into the jungle. When it is time, I will go off into the jungle and pull the rope, and she will hang. Then I will go home and eat, and bright and early the next morning I will be
look at his lips.
I will find the body hanging from the tree, and I'll
man, the quivering. He's taking relish in this,
and maybe even have coitus with it. I will notice the expression on the face, the position of the body, explore every nook and cranny of her, perhaps mutilate her and delight in the smell of any urine.
He's enjoying this. He's reliving it.
I leave and then return, so it will be unbelievable to myself that I did the deed. I will not be able to remember doing it. Funny, isn't it?
No, it's not.
The deniability part and all that, which is based on serial killer studies. You can see that
I'm
putting together a serial killer person from a serial killer profile.
Because you're a serial killer.
But all of that is research. I mean, that's going to the library and spending time studying books about criminal mentality. Well, I think it's very valid.
Sure, it's
valid. And the more they learn about serial killers, the more they see that this fits a lot of what people do, especially the part that you mentioned about the deniability, right? This is pure Bernard Giles, when he would go out and kill them and leave and come back and screw the corpse. I'm sorry that people take it in a way that they feel that this is an expression of reality. This is fiction. This is make-believe. It's designed to scare you.
Necrophilia.
Okay.
Gotta love it.
I'm sorry that I wrote it and that people have misinterpreted what has been written. It's trying to say, no, this is not fiction, this is reality. Because it's not reality, it's fiction. And it's just as valid fiction as anybody else who writes good, scary stuff.
And sadly, he did this shit in prison. So if you're going to protest your innocence, why the hell would you write that? Because he enjoys it. That's what they do. This is the whole point. Look, this is the whole point after pouring my heart out. And I shouldn't have, but this is what people do. Look, you take psychopathy, antisocial personality disorder, you take a narcissist, you abuse them, you're already going to have a problem kid growing up. Maybe they grow up and be a successful, I don't know, business, whatever. And they fire thousands, millions of people, lay them off. They don't give a shit. Whatever. They make millions, whatever. It's horrible. Maybe they become president. I don't know. It's possible. That's the kind of jobs they do good at. So maybe they do that. Maybe they don't. You know, maybe that, God forbid, maybe they watch YouPorn or Pornhub and they watch the violent fake porn, I put in quotes, porn on there. And maybe that violence crosses the beams like in Ghostbusters. Maybe Bundy was right, as we watched in his interview. Maybe it is pornography. Maybe, or not just the pornography, but the violence in it. And then you combine that with this other mentality, this other personality disorder. Maybe that is what gives us these people. We'll never know. They either aren't, nobody gives a shit once they're in prison, nobody talks about them, or they don't talk. Maybe I should write Ed Kemper. I've thought about doing that and then posting it if he writes back, and we could all have a read along. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Maybe he could give us some insights. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a damn dumb lawyer, just dumb country lawyer. That's all I am. No, but nothing special. There's a lot of guys on YouTube that make a lot of money doing a lot of good lawyering. Um, I mean, they do a lot of good work. I'm not that guy. I mean, I'm nobody special. I've just gone through hell. Um, and I just think people they should know the real world. They should know what the hell they're looking at, what they're dealing with. They damn well should know what's going to happen to them when they're caught into the system. Because you get caught, you can't get out of it. You're going to need that lawyer. And even then, it's going to take money. It's not about race. Well, that does play a part. It's about class, unfortunately. And then you have other bigotry about things like sex offenses. People still don't want to believe little girls or little children. Little kids don't make up graphic stuff. They just don't. It's not how it works. I've had to watch and look at things in camera with judges before that I don't ever. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, there's times where I drank way too much, and you've got to learn really damn quick that hey, this isn't gonna work. I need to go see someone. There's nothing I can do, have done. I did my job, and it's not my fault. I should have been the prosecutor in the case because the guy sucked. I had to get him off because I did my job. It hurts. So I'm trying to show people what the reality of the law is. It's not what you see on that stupid ass television shows. That's bullshit. It's not even what you see on the freaking TV. It gives you a peek. The YSL trial and other trials give you a peek, but not really. It doesn't give you a peek into the mind of the lawyer that goes home at night and because of all the shit he's had to hear all day and see, that drinks himself to a stupor to go to sleep. It's not right. And we're not supposed to. Well, we're not supposed to be drug addicts and whatever. Dude, shit. Lawyers and doctors are the two most common professions to become unalived while being in one. To unalive oneself. I mean, the stress. And then you have shit like this. If I can just save, damn it, just one person, one kid by doing this stuff and showing it, so be it. That's good. I've done a hell of a lot better with that one kid that I've saved. Just one. Just than I ever did when I was actually in court. Because I couldn't save those kids. Hell, I couldn't even save my own. Yeah. All right. Thanks for being with me, y'all. Chris with Bama Law. I'm out of here. Thank you. Leave a comment, subscribe, etc. Leave a comment. Tell me I'm an asshole. That's fine. Just tell me something. Just write gibberish. I don't care. All right. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye for now.